What's up? Welcome to episode 13 of Brewing Through the Multiverse. I'm your host, Mike.
I'm your other host, Joel.
How
Ooh,
we doing today,
solid.
man?
Doing well. Excited to, beyond excited, hyped to talk about some murder spoilers.
Yeah. And we have
I,
the whole set now, right?
yes.
It's all
Well,
out?
I think
Okay.
officially tomorrow is the full spoiler release, but usually it's like the commons and uncommons and then maybe like one rare, but like we have all the heavy hitters. Maybe it is today.
Nice.
I just thought it was for like all tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, but tomorrow's Friday, so it should be. So I'm cracking an electric catfish from Sigmeister. It's one of the deep sea series. If
Great
you
art.
ever want a really good IPA for cheap, Sigmeister, you can get them at any ShopRite Liquors, any deep sea series, Oasis, Citra, Tropical, whatever deep sea series, go for it. So this one's delicious. Cheers.
Cheers.
Uh, all right. Well, so yeah, we have a lot of murders to talk about. But before we do, I just want to stop in on standard. Um,
Before it gets
I'm
all
always
shook
talking
up.
about, yeah, because we're getting close. I think there'll be some cards in here that for sure show up. So
When is rotation? Because I don't follow that anymore. Has rotation happened?
no, rotation will happen. I think it's at the end of this year. I think we still have like another set or two. I don't know. We could check that up throughout, but I know it's not happening this set.
Looks like I'm going to good old what'sinstandard.com. What a great website that says exactly what's in standard.
That's like when I was playing Destiny, where'szer.com.
Oh, great. Yeah, it's like, please, exactly what I want to know. Exactly the
Yes.
website.
Yeah. Where is he?
Also,
What's he having? That's it.
yeah, it's quarter four 2024 is rotation. And I
Okay.
cannot believe that Innistrad and Kamigawa and Streets of New Capenna are still in standard. That's
Yeah.
insane.
New Capenna is the best. It's the best for standard. I'm gonna miss it.
All right.
But I've been playing a lot of standard actually. I went back and I opened up one of my older decks. It was with Croxa and the dog, the Mardu 6 mana. So it's
Kronos?
three. Yes, Croxa and Kuranos. It's 3 in Mardu, so it's 6 mana for a 6/6 with lifelink and trample. And when it enters the battlefield, or whenever whenever it attacks, you can exile 5 cards from your graveyard, and then return a creature from your graveyard onto the battlefield. The whole thing's built around cemetery tampering, the hideaway black card,
Yes.
and ultimately you want to have. So I guess
20?
Shieldred, not Shieldred, the white one, uh, Elish Norn. You want the Elish Norn doubler out, and then you drop out Croxa, and it triggers twice, and then you take 2 Atalis from your
Oh
graveyard,
my
and
god.
each Atali trigger happens twice, and then they concede before it all finishes
Yeah, I was
resolving.
gonna say that's gross.
Yeah, it's it's a no Atraxa build. I know Atraxa is one of the things you really want to grab from a graveyard, so I kind of have the rule don't do Atraxa. So I just kept it safe and went with Atali.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the other white meat.
yeah. So I've been having a blast with it. I think the fact that you can play around with something that doesn't do anything until you're casting a breach the multiverse means that we're in a healthy meta still for being so saturated with cards. I mean, you could get away with a lot still. It's a beautiful thing.
And actually, speaking of getting away with a lot of things, I know that that Wizards is forcing standard basically. Like, I think that the next is it Pro Tour or something along those lines is standard. I just know that our local game store is running instead of a Pioneer RCQ, it's standard, and I just thought it was interesting that Wizards is pushing like for standard again.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
I'm fine with it, honestly. It's just my problem is that like I love Commander so much, so if I had time to play Paper Magic, why wouldn't I just want to play Commander? And I know that it's different strokes. Like obviously, if you're playing Standard, you're probably a little bit more competitive, and if you're going to an RCQ, you're definitely competitive and that sort of thing. So it's cool. I'm glad that they're, trying to make it work. I think that the extended time period of cards in standard makes it a little more forgiving for people that want to hop in and not have their deck rotate every, remember when they reduced it to a year and a half or whatever
Yeah,
to
and I
rotate
enjoyed that
quicker?
as well. I loved it.
That was crazy. So,
Yeah,
I appreciate that if that gets more people into the game. Whatever gets more people into the game is ultimately a good thing for me. You know what I mean? Like what
yeah,
I want people to keep playing. I want to keep playing myself. It's all selfish. I just want to keep playing
yeah,
Magic, so more people.
yeah. And I'm on your side where if we're sitting down to play paper. It's going to be Commander, that's for sure. Um, but there's definitely those burnout times when I'm a little fatigued of the decks that I have. There's nothing I really want to build. Um, and I do kind of yearn for that just quick one-on-one kind of competitive and fun sneaky interaction that standard brings. I'm not looking I didn't I had a problem with Pioneer because I am not good at constructed formats. And that's why I was not good at modern, and Pioneer's kind of the same thing because there's a meta, and that meta is a real thing. If you're not playing that meta, I mean, you can get wins, but don't expect to really, overperform. But there's something about standard where there's a meta, but it's limited enough to where you can get away with a fun build, trying to build around a card and not really be punished as badly as those older formats. So if I do get that urge to play constructed, standard is always what it is. So it's nice to hear that that might be around and be an option for those Fridays when I kind of want to, go get silly with some four ofs. I like it. I like it.
Yeah, no. I almost wish I would like to try out a best of one paper standard kind of event. Because standard is always, best of three and whatnot, and you have the sideboarding and all that stuff. But like, I think it would be fun to have a best of one type setup and then play 6 games against, like 6 different opponents instead of 3 games against three.
That would be fantastic.
I think that'd be fun.
I would really like doing that for pre-release, only because the fuck are you sideboarding with your sealed pool?
I
You
know.
know?
So okay, so I either don't sideboard at all, or what I've done in the past is build a complete deck with the leftover cards and just say, well, fuck it, I'm gonna play this a whole new deck.
Yes. Which is kind of like trying to do one ofs, right? Like, isn't that one of?
Exactly, 100% is
Just
one
the
of.
same opponent.
Yeah. So
Oh yeah, I agree.
one
But
of. Let's do it in paper. Let's get it
so
done.
so then are we building standard decks or
No,
nay? Okay.
no.
All right. I like it.
Yeah, because I made that mistake with Pioneer. I built a Pioneer deck, and then I was like all gung ho. I'm like, I'm gonna start going to Pioneer on Fridays. I really want to do that, but then something came up the next week. I couldn't go, and then the following week I was like, I could stay home, and then it just I'm not inspired to go play constructed, so I'm not gonna. And I literally want to build like 15 commander decks right now, so that's another problem. I don't have time to build standard decks.
Yeah. Yeah, I was telling you the story about how I almost went and bought the Precon and had
You
to
should have
talk
just done
myself
it.
off a ledge. I probably will. You know what it is I was supposed to have Krark ready for Saturday,
Yeah,
and I just got confirmation that my card Kingdom Order will be here on Monday. So to fill that void, I might have to buy a Precon to bring. So
I think so.
it might still happen.
I
Yeah.
highly recommend if they have the Doctor Who ones. I heard Bant
Yeah.
is the least fun of the four, but I heard all four of them are great. They have some cool.
I would go Masters of Evil for sure.
Oh yeah,
I
no,
think
that one,
I
that
think
one or Timey Wimey seems like the way. The one I got, Paradox Power, was also very fun, but
I loved watching that play and how it interacted, and that was kind of why I'm so into it. Let me ask you: are you interested in buying any of the four commander decks for murders? I know we'll talk about the cards later, but is there any like precon that you're down for right away?
so okay, so it's funny that you say that because as I was not interested at all prior to seeing any of the cards. I was excited about Murders. There's a lot of things I wanted, but I have to say there are some cards in there that are just like super cool and like I want to build around, which is why I was saying I want to build like 15 commander decks. Like all of those decks are cool. And then additionally, um, oh, didn't know where I was going with this, but yes. Oh, what I was gonna say is that we'll talk about it later. I don't want to like spoil the card discussion. I was gonna say I found
Okay.
one of my favorite cards
Oh, okay.
I've ever
All
seen,
right.
and it's silly, but I
So you
can't
might
wait.
so if you buy one, it would really be for the pieces. You're scrapping it for parts.
Probably, yeah, or heavily updating it or changing it. But I want parts from a lot of the different ones. Oh, also reprints again, just like with Ixalan, reprints are crazy good in these precons as well.
Hmm. Okay, I didn't look at the reprints. I only looked at the new cards so far, so I'm not too sure what's getting reprinted. Maybe you could inform me as we go over them.
Yeah.
All right, awesome.
But are you interested in any of them?
No, if I was interested in one, it would probably be the Boros. I do like what they're doing with Boros right now, but I because I haven't really broken it down, and none of the face commanders hit me immediately. There's nothing right now, so I'm gonna wait. But yeah, so let's cover the rest of the murders spoilers. If there's any cards that we think that were spoiled from the last podcast that we want to bring up, that we think is going to be good, that we think is going to be bad, artwork. I have some artwork I want to shout out. So let's cover the rest of the spoilers for the first half, and then we'll go into Commander.
All right, you go first.
Okay. The first one that I really want to talk about is a black card. Um, it was I just heard about it today, and it got me really reeling on what I want to do here. It's an instant X black black outrageous robbery.
Okay.
Uh, so X black black target opponent exiles the top X cards of their library face down. You may look at them and play those cards as long as they remain exiled. If you cast a spell this way, you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast it. So it's like it's a draw spell, except you're drawing from someone else's deck, which I like because you're drawing cards. You are getting rid of some stuff that your opponents could have been using, and it's an X spell, so it grows to what you want to do. Um, I like it for that. It's like Gonti a little bit, but it does it scales to however you want it to go. Um, but I was trying to think about how, and maybe you can help me with this. How does this work with Ashiok, Wicked Manipulator? Is
Okay,
there
hold
any
on.
sort of synergies? So Ashiok's is the planeswalker from Wilds, and it says if you would pay life while your library has at least that many cards in it, exile that many cards from the top of your library instead. Um, oh, that's your own library, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, so this doesn't work at all with it.
Huh.
Boo. I thought there was going to be some fun way to have a whole bunch of cards in exile and start dealing. Isn't there a card that deals damage equal to the exiled cards? Am I just wishing that into existence?
Isn't that oh man. No, something like damages them, right? For how many cards they have in exile?
That's what so whatever card that
Is
is, and
that
I'm
a
sure that some
Kaya
people find it.
planeswalker?
No, definitely not the new one. But or maybe it might be a Boros card, because I know they're exiling a lot of stuff
Yeah,
nowadays.
Kaya Orzhov Usurper from the what was that set? Guilds Return to Ravnica Allegiance. I can't remember. But the more recent Ravnica set. But her -5 is deals damage to target player equal to the number of cards the player owns in exile, and you gain that much life.
Okay. Okay. All right. I knew there was a planeswalker. um, yeah. So maybe there's some build where you just pump out a ton of mana, you exile a bunch of cards, you alter, you just spend a ton of resources and a whole bunch of cards
And you
to do this long-winded way.
value. That's value.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not that powerful. When I read it, I sounded like a Gonti that scales. I mean, there's no death touch body, but being able to play their lands, cast their spells. So this could be a fun little thing in Commander to take the blue player stuff and possibly counter a blue player spell with his own counter as a black player. So I like it. That's my first shout out.
All right, my first card, and it comes attached with a little side piece, is an uncommon Insidious Roots, black green. Creature tokens you control have tap added 1 mana of any color. Whenever one or more creature cards leave your graveyard, create a 0/1 green plant creature token, then put a 1/1 counter on each plant you control. Now, I have 2 points about this. The first point is when I first read this card, I was like, how how is this an uncommon? Like, what is happening? And then I remembered that because of play boosters changing how booster packs are set up, back in the day when they announced that this change was upcoming, Mark Rosewater said that in order to compensate, the power of uncommons was going to get pushed up so that uh you can kind of like compensate for not having as many, like, I guess it was uncommons, or was the power of commons was going to get pushed up? Now I can't actually remember.
I think you're right. I think it was the uncommons are going to be a little bit more, or maybe there's going to be more uncommons to the. I don't know.
Well, regardless, I feel like the power level of this uncommon and the next uncommon I want to read are both a reflection of that new design with like the boosters in mind. Because I feel like this is like insanely strong for an uncommon. For a 2 mana uncommon.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
creature tokens just tap for mana of any color. That alone I
Yeah.
feel like is a strong effect.
Uh, Now, I mean, this is good. What format would you count it good for? Commander and standard? I mean, this is good for standard, obviously.
Yeah, I would
Um,
say commander and standard, because how many creature tokens can any given, you're in Golgari, so you're probably, you could be making elves, you could be making saprolings, you could be making plants.
right.
I just feel like those are great colors for that. And then the second clause, which is the Golgari part, is the returning things leaving your graveyard. And that's just saying leave your graveyard, so you can exile that with collect evidence and still trigger that effect.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. After all this was said and done, we look at all the cards. Collect evidence seems like it's definitely going to play a role in some sorts of constructed, um, which
Yeah, just
means
because
we need
it's
to start milling.
utilizing the graveyard, just like a
Yeah.
nice resource.
Yeah. And talking of using the graveyard, um, there's a so it's a 1 black mana. If you can pull this up, actually, because I want your opinion on this,
All right,
is
I
it's
got black open.
Fester Leech, which is an uncommon 1 black mana 1/1. When
I'm looking
Fester
at it right
Leech
now.
deals Okay, when Fester Leech deals damage to a player, you mill 2 cards. Um, and then you can pay 1 in a black. Fester Leech gets +2/+2 until end of turn, activated only once each turn. I want to compare this to Stitcher's Supplier, which is also a 1 black mana 1/1. When it enters or dies, mill 3 cards.
Yes,
So, I mean, obviously, Stitcher's is the best 1 mana for getting cards into your graveyard. It
yes,
enters, and then you sacrifice it to some spell to draw 2 cards, and then it mills 3 more to 6 cards in graveyard for 1 mana. Now, this card has to deal damage, but you can also pump it into a 3/3, and you can start really dealing some damage. I mean, so ultimately, this is not just going to mill, but it's also going to deal damage and help reduce the life total. The only problem is you have to deal damage. Which would you run if you were trying to do a mild graveyard form?
still Stitcher Supplier,
Hmm.
and I only say
Okay.
that because Stitcher Supplier comes out, you get the 3 cards in your graveyard, so boom, you're already ahead of the game. Yes, Fester Leech is repeatable, but turn 2, when I played Stitcher Supplier, I have 3 things in my graveyard. Now I have 2 mana. I can, play something on curve, as opposed to the opponent who's only going to buff this to a 3/3, and then I could chump block with my Stitcher Supplier, and now I have 6 cards in my graveyard, and you would need to attack me for 3 more turns, likely spending 2 mana each time buffing Fester Leech to actually like get in for damage, while I'm
Right.
6 cards in the graveyard, and three 3 to 4 turns with the plays. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay. All right. That makes sense. I just there's something about something aggro about me that says, hey, but this can also punch for 3 mana, for 3 damage. Where because every once in a while you'll drop a Stitchers, two lands, and some dinky enchantment goes in your graveyard, and you're like, oh my god, now I just have a 1/1. So the fact that this can stretch and maybe turn 3, turn 4, turn 5 get you somewhere that maybe if the graveyard didn't. I'm trying
As
to really
opposed
like
to
this
playing
card.
your 2 drop though, on turn 4 you'd rather play a 2 drop and buff this than drop a 4 drop.
So let's so if you're playing a reanimator deck, you're gonna have a lot of big CMC creatures. And
Yeah.
sometimes you end up having to just cast those mamma jammas. And if somewhere in the middle, you did some sort of board wipe or a removal or something, and now there's this lull where you just start poking. What was that 1 mana spell? I think it's still in standard. 1 black mana, 1/1, where you could keep on evolving it or growing it, and then it turns into a 2/2, and then it turns into a 2/2 with
Oh,
Death
the
Touch.
Phyrexian Sleeper or whatever,
Yes,
the mono
yes, yes.
black, yeah.
It kind of seems like that, but what also helps your graveyard get stocked. So I like this. I think it was a bit much for me to try to compare it to Stitcher Supplier because that's literally as good as it gets.
I feel like yeah, the
But
rate is too good.
yeah, maybe I should
I'm
have
not saying
compared it to
Fester
them.
Leech is bad. I'm just saying
Right,
it's my second choice.
right. It's the protection racket to the fucking black market
Not
deck.
even
I get it.
cool.
It's,
Yes, yes, that's a great point. Though I
but
will say I am excited to put Fester Leech both in my Esper Zombies deck, because it is a zombie and it's a 1 drop, so easy peasy, and it fills the graveyard. And I'm also gonna probably end up putting this in my mono black Drana budget deck after I play it a few times, of course. But
nice.
yeah,
All right,
nice 1 drop.
awesome. Yeah, what great 1 drops in this set. Let me just while we're on black 1 drops,
Yeah, moving on.
Snarling Gorehound, 1 black, 1/1 dog, menace. Whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, surveil 1.
Yeah, that's cool.
Man, a 1/1 with menace, great. And then surveil, and I like it. I think they have a really good job of keeping the some 1 drops in here, and this is a good one.
I think that if I were to build a standard deck, I would build Orzhov weenies. Because
Let's do it.
between that seems like a great card, 1/1 with menace, and then also maybe Mardu weenies to squeeze in War Leader's Call or whatever that awesome like Impact Tremors / Glorious Anthem combo piece. But that, and then Delny that we talked about last week, Streetwise Lookout, which like they can't be blocked by creatures 3 or greater, and then the trigger double triggers, so you
Yeah.
get 2
And
surveils.
now if you get Delny out and then you drop Snarling Gorehound, um, wouldn't that trigger the surveil 2 times?
Yes.
Right? Like
Well, it's another
so
creature, so Snarling would come out, and then
right,
yeah,
and
you
then
play
whatever anything
Delny,
else.
and then yeah, then you get 2 surveils off of that.
All right, cool. Yeah. All right. Yeah, little 1 drop black creatures. I love it. What do you
Love
got?
it. My next card that I wanted to point out was another uncommon, which is the second card that I read that I thought was like, this is like a pushed uncommon. This is kind of crazy. And also, I'm not the greatest judge of cards. Sometimes I'm excited about ones that end up being bad, just like everyone. So maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like this is a powerful effect for an uncommon. It's one of the split cards. It's not this split that I'm talking about, but the one half is Flotsam, which is 1 and hybrid Simic. Mill 3 cards, investigate. Cool. And then Jetsam, 4 and 2 hybrid Demir. Search each opponent mills 3 cards. Then you may cast a spell from each opponent's graveyard without paying its mana cost. If a spell was cast this way, would be put into a graveyard, exile instead. I feel like that is such a powerful effect for a 6 mana uncommon.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. Saying it like that. Yeah, absolutely. 6 mana, 3 separate spells, one from each opponent, and it's any spell. It's not like non-land permanent. It's
Yeah,
I mean,
anything.
yeah, just any, no,
So
no,
yeah,
yeah,
so mid to
whatever you
late
wanted.
game, I feel like this is like crazy value. And the fact that it's an uncommon, you know what I mean? I feel like that's what really just makes me go like, wow. And even better is that there's the 2 mana side, so that if you do pull it early and it's useless, you can mill 3 cards and investigate. Obviously, you want to be in a deck that like cares about the graveyard. So, but yeah, the cast things from people's graveyard for free, each opponent, each one. That to me seems pushed.
The only issue that I could say is this reads to me very similar, although this is why I'm saying the fact that it's any card is so good is Diluvian Primordial, which when it enters, you can cast an instant or sorcery from any opponent's from each opponent's graveyards. That never works. Or what's the one? Spell Twine is the other one that lets you cast multiple spells from graveyards. When it's only instants and sorceries, you're very limited. Like you'll be able to maybe draw some cards, maybe remove a creature, maybe, but it's nothing too game winning. The fact that you can get creatures as well is what I think is selling me on this the most. Because I've played cards like this, like I said,
Yeah.
Primordial and everything, and I've always cut them because at the end of the day, it's like, what am I going to do? A rampant growth? Let me cast a rampant growth,
Yeah.
But if you have a deck that is milling opponents, or the fact that this opens it up to creatures also is what makes this one stand out from these other cards that I've been burned by.
Yeah, this is going right in my Yidris deck.
Yidris, the Cascade deck.
Chaos Cascade kind of, yeah. It's a big
Yeah,
mana for Cascade, and also half of the effects are like a Tali type, like, oh, everyone exiles until they hit something, and then I get to cast that. So I feel like doing the graveyard version of it works as well.
yeah, yeah.
And
Hell yeah,
it's the only Sultai color deck that I have.
I like it. Yeah. Casting other people's spells is always so iffy. You could really piss someone off sometimes by like, especially if it's something like you countered that spell
And
and
then you
then you
get
cast
it.
it on them, like almost like like what is that? The what the fuck did he do? I don't know. What the red card. Trump did it.
Insurrection.
What is that thing? Insurrection.
Interrupted.
You know. That was as good as it gets. Counter the spell and then use it against them. But anyway, yeah. No, hopefully you use that against me and it does what it needs to do. I want to call out a quick little card here. Neighborhood Guardian. Did you see the artwork for Neighborhood Guardian?
The mono white dog.
No, the white unicorn,
Oh
and
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
they're like trumpeting around it, and it's the happiest little
It's the
unicorn in the world.
happiest little unicorn.
Oh my god, it's mid-May. Oh, it's so good. It doesn't do anything too crazy. I mean, it's not a bad card. You'll play it in standard. I mean, in a limited, but hey, it's good for limited.
Yeah,
But that artwork gets me so happy. He's
yeah.
trotting along.
That unicorn is hyped, and so is everyone else.
Yeah, all good. What else you got, man?
All right, my next one that I love, and this one I only love because of how the name is reflected in the ability. It's Knowledge is Power. 3 mana, white, blue. It's an enchantment. Creatures you control get +X/+X, where X is the number of cards you've drawn this turn. So
Interesting.
knowledge, drawing cards is power.
Is literally
Power.
the
Yeah, it's
power.
so good. I love that. That's the only reason I'm really psyched about that card. I mean, at worst, your creatures get +1/+1 for the card. Your card draw at the beginning of the turn.
Right.
Um, it sucks that it doesn't it's not static, so it doesn't stay all the time. But you're in Azorius, so you're probably drawing a lot of cards anyway. So all of a sudden, all my little birds are now 5/5s because I drew 4 cards.
That's what it would have to be, right? You got to make a bunch of little birds or something, little spirits, something like that you can, even if it is just a 3/4 tough, powered punch, it'll
Yeah,
be worth it,
it adds up.
Yeah, maybe preferably something with lifelink, swing with a bunch of little lifelinking spirits or something. I don't play Azorius. You definitely play Azorius. So hopefully one
Yeah,
day you'll use that.
yeah, yeah. My the next CDH deck I build is Azorius adjacent.
There we go. All right. I got a card here. It is Soul Enervation. Enervation. Never heard that word before. All right. So Soul Enervation. It's 3 and a black. It's a 4-mana enchantment with flash. When Soul Enervation enters the battlefield, target creature gets -4 and -4 until end of turn. Whenever one or more creature cards leave the graveyard, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So 4 mana, flash, -4, -4 to creature. On removal, that's subpar, I would say. It's not even good removal. But whenever one or more creature cards leave the graveyard, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Isn't there some way in Commander to kind of make this a win con where like you mill yourself out and then you have something that just slowly exiles a card from your graveyard and it deals 1 damage every time?
I mean, you can also exile your entire graveyard at once and just have everyone lose like
Well,
20
I
life.
think if you but
Oh,
no, I
one or
think you have
more.
to.
Yes, one or
Yeah,
more.
yeah, so it has to be just little pings, just remove a
Exactly to
card,
stop
remove a card.
doing that.
Right. So it's an okay card. It's a removal card for 4 mana. It's okay. But I'm sure there's some way that this could actually be a finisher or some sort of combo piece to get like instant wins in Commander. So I
Well,
want to
it's
call
funny
this
that
card out.
yeah, you bring that up because I actually have that on my list to put into Drana as well for my Mono Black
Oh,
Reanimator because why not? Just a little
because it brings
extra.
stuff out of graveyards.
Yeah,
Yes. Okay. All right. Cool. And flash removal. Good stuff.
exactly.
Good stuff.
Not bad.
Yeah. So I thought that was an interesting, and although it's just an uncommon, it could be part
That
of some
these
combo. And one day
uncommons
we're paying $5
are
for it.
fucking crazy.
Yeah,
These
for
uncommons
real.
are getting wild.
Yeah, most of the cards we're talking about right now are uncommons.
Okay, that's what I'm saying, man.
Oh my goodness. Good call. Yeah. All right. Anything else? What do you got?
Okay, so I have mentioned several times on the cast before that I was interested in building like an Esper investigate deck that seems the set went above and beyond in terms of like supporting investigate as like as an archetype to build around. There's even a commander deck built around investigate, but this card makes me think like it's totally worth it. Merchant of Truth, 2 mana, white for an Angel Detective, 2/5 flying. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, investigate. That's cool. Clues you control have exalted. That is nuts.
That's dangerous.
Yeah, with some of the cards that's like investigate equal to X, X is the amount of whatever's they have or what have you. This set is full of cards that do, make multiple investigate tokens. And then all of a sudden, like you attack with one creature and it's like, a +8/+8 because you have 8 clues stacked up. I don't know. I just feel like that card's cool. I feel like it adds a nice angle to the investigate, like as like a win con, so to speak.
I don't have it pulled up. If you could just read that one more time. What is his actual text box?
Okay, so Merchant of Truth, 2 white, so 4 mana total, 2/5 flying, Angel Detective. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, investigate, which is whatever, and then clues you control have exalted.
Okay. All right. Now, my thing here is Exalted says whenever a creature attacks alone, give it +1/+1.
Yes.
So, okay, so it doesn't have to be a creature to have Exalted. And
No.
it doesn't and anything can have Exalted. And then
Yes.
so let's say you have 6 clues and you swing with a 2/2, it's now going to be an 8/8, right?
Yes.
Is it okay,
Yes.
as long as you don't swing with anything else.
Exactly.
It's now an 8/8.
So the way I
That's
see it
wild.
is that you probably have this as one of your win cons in your investigate deck where you swing with your commander and attempt to win with commander damage. Because whatever investigate commander you're running produces the tokens. All of your support cards are probably going to be producing the tokens. and then you just swing with your commander and try to win through commander damage. Obviously, there's other ways to go about winning with investigate. That you could
Right.
abuse sacrificing effects and like Mirkwood bats and things of that nature. There's other ways to win, but I feel like this is a good one card side avenue to try to get that victory.
Yeah, absolutely. All meanwhile investigating in card draw advantage, which is great.
Yes,
So
great, big fan.
that's a win-win.
You
That's
even
having your
attack
cake
and
and
then
eating it.
sack some of the clues afterwards for the card
You
draw.
attack, then you sack. I love
Yeah,
it. I love
attack,
it.
sack, exactly. Sack or two, dude.
All right. Sacker dude. I still gotta make that shirt for him.
For
All right.
context, for
Well,
anybody listening, our buddy plays a Mogus deck, and the effect is at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, they have to sacrifice a creature or pay 2 life. And Sacker 2 has become a meme in our playgroup.
I like when he leans in timidly. Sacker two, dude.
Whispers it to you.
I'm at
Damn
3
it!
life, man. Relax. Those Rakdos decks get you every time.
Speaking of Rakdos deck,
Yes.
I have another card. I'm meaning to jump ahead because I'm so
Get
excited
in there.
about it. As
Get
soon
in
as
there.
as soon as I saw this card, I immediately was saying to the people I was on Discord with that you are gonna love it. So let's see if
Hit me.
we're gonna talk about the same card. Prisoner's Dilemma.
Prisoner's Dilemma. All right, let me pull it up. I don't have
Okay,
it on my list.
while you're pulling
All
it
right,
up.
let's see.
3 red sorcery. Each opponent secretly chooses silence or snitch, and the choices are revealed. If each opponent chooses silence, Prisoner's Dilemma deals 4 damage to each of them. If each opponent chooses snitch, Prisoner's Dilemma deals 8 damage to each of them. Otherwise, Prisoner's Dilemma deals 12 damage to each opponent who chose silence.
Yes. Okay.
That is
I did.
amazing.
Yeah, I did. This is a commander card. We're jumping ahead here.
100%. Yeah.
Okay, dude. I read this card so many times to make sure I understood. It was like Wheel of Misfortune, where it's like there's this red card that if you don't read it right, you can really fuck yourself. Like suddenly you're taking 20 damage because you were the dude who wrote 20. Not understanding what's going on. Yeah, this card is so great because God help the snitches, but at the same time, you want to be the snitch. And then if everybody's the snitch, you're still hurt. It's so good. You're absolutely right. And 100% this will be in a lot of my decks. So.
Yeah, I will also put it in red decks as well. Not all of them, but some.
Clark is going to love this because you're going to cast it and then cast it a second time. Hey.
And you know exactly who the snitches are.
That's what after the first cast, like the second one's gonna be very, very tense.
Yeah. Honestly, you know what the best part about it is that when I read this card, the first thing I said to myself was, well, obviously the safe choice is to snitch. And then I thought, I laughed to myself because that's exactly how they abuse the prisoner's dilemma in prison with the police to get people to rat. And I'm like, oh, it makes sense.
Yes.
I could get in more trouble if I don't say anything, or definitely a little trouble. So I don't see how anyone chooses silence, to be honest. But
if everyone chooses snitch, oh no, okay, no, everyone it's just 8.
It's 8, yeah.
It's 8.
But that's the thing, though. If one person's like, we're gonna vote for silence, aren't we, guys? And then they're the only one, they take 12. Even if only one person chooses snitch, everyone else takes 12.
Yeah. And that's why that second cast, the copy of it,
so that's pretty insane.
Yeah. Good, dude. Yeah,
and
for sure. I hope
and it's secret. Have you looked up what the rules
secret.
for secret voting is? Is it that you can't verbally discuss? How does that work?
Listen, you can't. Not that you can't, but you're not supposed to. But obviously, everybody's free to talk as they want. The thing is, you secretly voting, you kind of don't want to let anybody know. Now, sure enough, if I'm, the arch enemy on the board and I cast this, you guys are all going to look at each other and be like, hey, I think we should all be silent as fuck about this today, and
True.
everyone should vote. So in a commander game, but there's a lot of the secret cards. There's like you don't want to say it because you can end up shooting yourself in the foot if you announce it. So no, you're not supposed to say it. That's the whole point of secret. But at the same time, no, no police are going to come and arrest you if you just start yelling out for everyone to vote silent. Which is exactly what a bunch of crooks would do. They would all fucking, before they get pulled into the investigation office, just kind of make that one deal of like, listen, you don't have to, but we got to choose silent.
Yeah. And then you secretly choose
Yeah,
snitch.
and the one person who needs that life total, they're like, yeah, sure, yeah, silent as hell, yeah, no problem.
Oh my god, I'm so excited about that card. I was hyped to talk about that. It was one of the most hyped things I ever read.
Dude. Yeah, for
It's not even a good card. It's just like I love the concept and like just involving the table and like decisions. Like it's always a good time.
Yeah, no one's gonna cast that spell and just everyone be on the phone and be like, oh, okay,
Exactly.
silent.
People are gonna start talking shit. People are gonna it's gonna be great.
Yeah. All right, let's guess though. If we were to cast it, what would Mark vote? Would Mark be a silent? I mean, I just see him just defiantly saying silent.
I say he would defiantly say silent and then get burned by it because I chose snitch, and then say fuck you. Yeah. I'm only. That's what would happen.
Exactly that. And then he would just pummel you, or at least try to, with all of these creatures. So I love it. So yeah, Mark will defiantly choose silent every time, hopefully.
I'll tell you right now, I'm never discussing my choice. I'm gonna not.
Yeah, absolutely. Just fucking poker face and write it down, you know?
So hyped.
That's awesome. All right. Well, listen, if you went to a commander card, I'm going to a commander card. Hold on.
Oh, I said we're mixing it up. I'm just looking at all murder stuff.
Let's do it all then. Okay, because I do want to shout the one case card that I think is honestly playable in Commander. It is a Case of the Shifting Visage. It is from the Commander sets. It's 1 blue. At the beginning of your upkeep, surveil 1, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
So I think of it as, what's that artifact card that lets you scry and then you can pay 1 when a creature enters? It looks like the Pokedex. You know what I'm talking about? It's an artifact card.
Oh, Lifecrafter's Bestiary?
Yes. So right off the bat, 3 mana to, instead of scry, surveil. That's good. To solve, there are 15 or more cards in your graveyard, which isn't hard in Commander. And then once it's solved, whenever you cast a non-legendary creature spell, copy that spell. So there's a lot of cards, specifically weird typal decks or tribal decks or folk, whatever. There's a lot of cards like that where you're casting a lot of non-creature spells and you need this extra little pump to keep it going. I mean, even you could put this in your zombies deck.
Dude, it's the list of cards I'm buying from the set is I was gonna put it in zombies 100%.
Like, yeah, I mean, to surveil every turn, awesome.
Dump
You're gonna
things.
have 15, and then zombies every time you cast a zombie. Yes.
Yeah, it's the no-brainer going in
but
there.
Merfolk, anything that can run blue. If you are going to be a creature deck, you should be running this card, in my opinion, because that solved is worth it.
Yeah.
So, that I don't have a deck for it, but when I read that, I gotta say that's probably the best case for Commander that they've printed.
Best case scenario? Ha! Ha ha! It's for you back home.
My God. Yeah.
All right, next for me. So I like this card a lot because of the flavor implications of it. And this card is Hero of the 10th District. So I don't know if you've been following this character's arc, but in I believe it was Ravnica Allegiance. What the most recent return to Ravnica before this set obviously. But there was a card, 10th District Guard. It's a 2-mana 2/2, just generic common. But then the next set comes out, and then it's 10th District Veteran, and it's a 2/3 now for 3 mana. Has Vigilance. It's a little bit stronger. And then in War of the Spark, it becomes 10th District Legionnaire with 2-mana 2/2 with haste, and it gets buffed and can scry, so it's even stronger then. And in the flavor text of that third card, the character depicted as the 10th district character actually gets a name in the flavor text. So, hero of the 10th district, two mana, one and a white, creature human. For one and a white, you collect evidence two. Then it becomes a 4/4 human detective with vigilance. Then for two and a white, collect evidence four. If this creature is a detective, it becomes a legendary creature named Chief Inspector Mileva, which is the name given to this character in that flavor text, with base power and toughness 5/5, and has other creatures you control have indestructible. I'm just so happy that this character has made it through four cards, and like now we're getting this, and it's only a matter of time. You know for a fact next time we go to Ravnica, we're gonna get Maleva, Legion,
Yeah.
10th District God or something. You know what I mean? I don't know what it's gonna
Yeah,
be,
yeah.
but
He just
we're
he got a spark, after this whole arc happens, he gets a
yeah.
spark. He's a
So
planeswalker now or
I
something.
I am a very big fan of cycles through sets, and I love the flavor of this, and I very much hope we get the legendary Maleva card next time we go to Ravnica.
Yeah. I mean, the best version they ever did of this and is probably Omnath.
Oh yeah,
Like just slowly gaining his colors every time, and
and I
that
love the
was
way they
it's so
handled
cool.
black too, making it like the Phyrexian mana. It totally made sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. So good. Good job, Wizards. All right. Well, let's just get Anzrag out of the way here.
Oh okay, yeah. Let's.
Anzrag, the Quake Mole.
So how hyped were you when you read this?
I love the artwork. I love that it's a 4 mana 8/4. Um I like this card. I don't see myself ever casting this a day in my life though.
Why? What?
Okay, so it's a legendary mole god. Whenever Anzrag, the Quake Mole, becomes blocked, untap each creature you control after this combat phase. There is an additional combat phase. You can pay 3 red, red, green, green. So 7 mana. Anzrag must be blocked each combat this turn if able. The only deck that I would ever put this in would be my the spider Thantis, the
Yeah.
mantis over here. This perfect for that deck. My God, that's perfect. I love this. I would do it there. But I don't know. I don't play that type anymore. So, how about you? Do you like it?
I saw it. Well, first of all, I love it. I love the art, like you said. I love the cost and the effect. I immediately thought Raga Draga though for this. That you can pay 7 with
Oh,
all of my mana dorks, untap them when I attack with this because they're probably gonna block, and if they don't block, they're taking 8 damage, and that's a huge chunk of life.
yeah.
So it's a
Yeah.
win-win for me. It's definitely going in Raga Draga.
No, that's a good spot for it.
Oh, and that's what I'm saying.
All
It
right,
has to
cool.
be blocked. So then you're definitely getting the extra combat phase. I could stack, you could stack the mana. You keep paying for it. You can pay for other effects. It's great. Definitely Raga
Yeah.
Draga.
Yeah. All right, cool. And I think he fits this little mole, little
Why not?
creature
Why not?
claws and everything.
It's
It fits.
elves and a mole. Who knows?
Yeah.
The only thing is dealing with the 4 toughness. That's not, you know what I mean? Like there's enough creatures running around with 4 toughness that you're probably going to lose it, but I
Yeah.
think it's fun and I'm definitely going to try.
If you can get one extra combat where it matters most, it'll definitely be worth it. For 4 mana to cast them, I mean, you can get a lot out of it. So for sure.
I agree.
All right, cool. Any other cards you got right now?
Oh, I've got so many. So, this one I love for actually again Drana. So side note, I'm just so surprised that 2 decks that it decided to build before any cards were spoiled are now getting like just a ton of value and new possible additions. But Illicit Masquerade, 3 and a black for an enchantment with flash. When it enters the battlefield, you put a counterfeit counter on each creature you control. Whenever a creature you control with a counterfeit counter on it dies, exile it and return up to 1 target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. So this is going in Drana as well because I have a bunch of things out. You flash this in for 4, everything gets counter. Somebody board wipes. You obviously do it in response to a board wipe or something like that. Everything gets wiped, and then you get to bring back that many creatures from your graveyard.
Yeah. Yeah, I have this highlighted too. I would think this would have to be 5 mana. I'm surprised it's only 4 mana. I mean, I know you have to trade off the creatures on the battlefield for things to the graveyard, but at the end of the day, dude, 4 mana instant speed, turn all the creatures onto the battlefield to something in the graveyard.
Yeah, so you
Um,
don't get blown out. That seems pretty good.
yeah, and honestly, listen, dump a whole bunch of big things. You do the board wipe, you cast this, and now there's no board, and you've got your board. So,
Yeah, so
I mean,
big
it,
fan.
definitely resilient. Cool artwork. The faces just kind of being like moved from one face to the other. It looks almost like a family. A goblin's getting a face, a woman to the man. Just very psychedelic looking. So good artwork. Um, yeah. Let me shout out another card here. Bubble Smuggler,
Ha, that was cute.
the octopus fish.
Yeah.
It's a 2 mana 2/1 disguise. You could pay, so you could pay the 3 mana to have it come in as its ward 2/2 creature, and then you could pay disguise of 6 to flip it. As Bubble Smugglers turn face up before 1/1 counters on it. For limited, this is great. A 2 mana 2/1 is something you're always willing to play. Um, 3 mana 2/2 with ward 2 is okay. And then late game, flip it up and over, and suddenly it's a 6/5 that your opponents weren't ready for. So I
It
like the
almost
artwork, I like the name, and it's standard, and it's a limited playable.
I agree. The only thing is I feel like in limited, like it feels like you just have to block any face down creature. Because most of them seem to be some sort of like, aha, I gotcha when I flip it up. You know what I mean? Like that's the whole point of the effect. So like, wouldn't you just block
Right.
every single face down creature?
But now what if you don't block with it? Like, what if I played it as a 2/2 with ward and I don't attack with it? Now it's just sitting there. You don't know what it is. Are you going to spend 4, 5, 6 mana to remove it
Yes.
in worries of what it is?
No, true. Yeah, in
Like
limited, there's not a lot of options for removal. I'm just
you're
saying,
going to
like, if
have
you
to
were
wait till I flip it.
you're attacking
But
me with an upside down creature, or face down creature, I'm blocking it.
yeah, I like that. All right, that's the rule for thumb. If there is a disguised or cloaked creature coming at you, well, no, cloaked might not even be a creature.
True. That
So,
yeah. So cloaked is
but if it's
different,
a
but
disguise,
then yeah,
kill
you
it.
should probably
Okay,
block it.
all right, that makes sense. I like it. All right.
So
Hey,
actually, perfect card to. Did you have another point for that one?
nope, nope, nope. Go for it. I was going to another card.
Perfect
What do you got?
card to link from that is another octopus. Marvo Deep Operative, 3 blue black for a 1/8 legendary creature octopus rogue, and this motherfucker has a little knife near his tentacle. That's fucking awesome. Whenever Marvo Deep Operative attacks, clash with defending player. Now, I don't know if you were playing at this period of time, but no, definitely not. Clash was an effect from, I believe it was Lorwyn. It might have been Morning Tide Shadowmoor. I can't recall exactly, but I was fairly certain it was like Lorwyn. But old effect that I think was like very low on the storm scale in terms of like ever seeing it again. So the fact that we're getting it on a legendary creature, now we have a Clash commander. And then the side note, I wonder if this is a little plant for, because I know we're going back to Lorwyn in 2025, so I wonder if like this is like a pre like, hey, we're
Hmm.
going back to Lorwyn. Here's a little like nod to it. But besides, regardless, whenever you win a clash, draw a card, then you may cast a spell from your hand with mana value 8 or less without paying its mana cost. That's awesome.
I hate that it's only 8 or less. I mean, what if you got 10 mana spells you want to be casting?
Then you're not putting 10
It's
mana spells. It seems though you just. It seems as though this deck is just like ramp. Maybe ramp. I don't even know, but just like packet full of 7 and 8s, like extra turn spells. Basically, is what I would put in here mostly.
ew,
Yeah,
ew,
and
ew,
sneak in
dude.
and just
Ew.
clash with people. Use like some top deck manipulation to see what's on top. Free cast extra turn spells. Attack with your octopus again. Free cast garbage. I'm
Ew.
very excited about this.
Dude, no. No,
Yes.
man. No. No,
Yes.
you do Kraken Tribal, and this is a way to get the
No,
Kraken
no,
Tribal a
no,
little
no, no.
early.
Extra
Ew, man.
turns, octopus turns. Let's go. 8 turns for 8 tentacles.
Ah,
That's
I mean
exciting to
it
me.
it makes sense. I love this card. I love Clash, My first experience with Clash was actually Teddy had that Selesnya deck where we would clash or parry. Right, that's where you reveal the top card of your
That's
library.
parlay.
But I'm thinking of parlay. So I've never clashed. Okay.
Yeah, clashes directly like reveal the top card, and whoever has the highest mana value wins.
Okay. Each clashing player reveals the top card of their library, then puts that card on top or bottom. A player wins if their card had a higher mana value. Okay. So yeah. At least you get to choose whether it goes top or bottom.
Yeah, so you get the scry, but
Yeah. So
if
if
I
it's
win the
something
clash,
dinky,
I'm
just
casting an
flip
extra
it.
turn spell. So
Damn. Now, is this worth playing a Strionic Resonator for? Because for 2 extra mana, that triggers twice, and now you get 2 8 mana spells. Is it worth it? I'm
see,
always looking for a home for Strionic, so
yes, I actually did end up putting Strionic in Drana, by the way.
cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's there was no
That's a
reason
nice
not to,
trigger.
and I had the budget.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was only $2.
Yeah, they're
Um,
cheap.
yes, I would put Strionic probably in here because you get the
Okay.
double clash, and if you're running enough top deck manipulation, you can basically ensure with the high enough density of like 6, 7, 8 mana spells that you're probably always going to win.
Yeah.
And I think I saw on Reddit that there's only like 15 like uh clash cards in blue and black, but I don't even think it matters. I don't even think you need to run those if they're. I haven't seen them, so some of them might be decent, but I just think that just attacking with him and winning with the single clash he does, and then abusing extra turn effects is like the way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Just use his ability for sure. You don't have to be playing a ton of clash spells with it as well. That's how I ended up building Quark. Was at first I was like, oh, coin flip. I got to build coin flip. By the end of it, I mean, you play it out. You're like, I'll flip enough coins if I build this right. So I don't need these penny, card flip decks, cards. So I love it. Those weird. I love that Matt. Yes, last week we talked about how Magic has all these one-off abilities and these weird things, and it's hard to remember. Those are definitely the pros, but the cons. But the pros are sometimes these weird things like coin flip and stuff, or clash, where now it's this special little ability that you can kind of make your niche, and that they have it. So I love that they're doing all this weird stuff. Keep it coming.
Agreed.
Uh, so high CMC spells. Let's talk about Havoc Eater.
Okay.
It is from the commander list. It is 5 red. So it is a 7 mana elemental 3/3 with flying. When Havoc Eater enters the battlefield, for each opponent, goad up to 1 target creature that opponent controls. Put X/1/1 counters on Havoc Eater, where X is the total power of creatures goaded this way. So 7 mana is a lot of mana to get a
It's a
3/3
ton.
flyer. But 7 mana, I goad your 5/5 flyer, Mark's 8/8 Hydra, and Joey's 4/4 Dino, because he mana fucked there. This creature is now a flying 5, 9, 14/14 or something like that. Like 7 mana for a flying 14/14, and 3 of the biggest creatures on the board are now goaded. I think that as unassuming as this card looks, if you were to play it in the right decks, this alone can get you an avenue to victory. It's big enough, you're goading shit, and it's got flying. So I think this card is pretty cool.
The only time I think it's cool too, and I actually want to test it in Ilharg. But that I was about to say that the only time I would play this card is if I cheated it out somehow.
But it's entered
Because
the battlefield. You don't have to cast it.
exactly, so that's why I would cheat it out
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Ilharg.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't play it like I wouldn't want to play it in a deck where I would have to rely on casting it for its actual CMC. Because I
Yeah.
feel like 7 mana, while yes it can get big and it does goad something, just it's too easy to get blown out without any sort of like evasion or.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I like it though.
Yeah, it's going in
What,
Ilharg.
nice. Yeah, I'll put it in Perforos. Big and beefy. What
Or
else you got,
Henzi.
man?
It could be in Henzi.
Oh, it could be in Henzi. Just blitz it out. Well, That's the thing is I'd have to blitz it out. So let's say Henzi's only been cast once, it's still going to be 6 mana, which ain't bad.
Oh,
Which
I
ain't bad.
forgot.
And
Yeah.
then, but then it's going to die. It's going to die. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
but
know.
then otherwise you're paying for 7. That's another turn worth of.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll find a spot. I'll buy one, and we'll
Yeah,
find
we'll
a home
see.
for it.
We'll
We'll
just see.
test it out.
So this card, last week I mentioned a card that was a spirit detective, and I brought up one of my favorite anime of all time, Yu Yu Hakusho, and I was like, oh, I just loved the fact that it was a spirit detective. That's so cool. Okay, so then this card gets spoiled, and I cannot be convinced that this was not intentionally done to reference that anime. The card is Otherworldly Escort. It's 3 and a white for a 4/3. It's a human detective with flash. When Otherworldly Escort dies, if it's not a spirit, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with 4 charge counters on it. It's a spirit detective. In the anime Yu Yu Hakusho, the very first episode, Yusuke Urameshi saves a little boy from getting hit by a truck. He's killed in that accident, and in order to redeem himself for being a piece of shit when he was alive, they offer him the chance to become a spirit detective to earn essentially his freedom from being like condemned to hell or whatever. So the fact that this thing dies and comes back as a spirit detective is incredible. And then additionally, there's the next effect. For 1 and a white and tap it, remove a charge counter on it, uh, destroy target creature that dealt damage to you this turn. This guy's hand is literally in the shape of a gun with like a shining light coming off of it, and Yusuke's signature attack is the spirit gun, where he points his finger as a gun and shoots like an energy blast out of it. You cannot tell me that this was not 100% a reference to that anime. You can't convince me. It dies, comes back as a spirit detective, and then it has a spirit gun ability. Like, get out of here.
100%. It had to be. I love that Magic does that. Like they take the things that we like and we care about, and they incorporate it into their game, whether through the universes beyond or just cheekily put in, like Elsa's from Frozen and stuff like this in here. I mean, like they know what they're doing, and they're doing a good job with it of just
Yeah.
towing the line. Did you see that new game, Pal World, where
Yeah,
it's
which is
literally just Pokemon
Pokemon. Yeah.
with guns, and it's like I tried playing it because Liam's playing it, and it was one of these things where it was like, this is so on the nose. I can't do it. It's almost like they're trolling. They're like rolling it in your face of like,
Yeah.
yeah. Magic does it the right way. But also, let me just say, whatever, because I don't know the anime you're talking about, I'm pretty sure they stole that from 100 Deeds from Eddie McDowd. Do you remember that show?
No, 100 Deeds.
Okay, so there was this bully kid, this boy who was a bully, and someone turned him into a dog, and he had to do like 100 good deeds as a dog in order to get turned back into a boy. I'm pretty sure that was the name of it. 100 deeds for
I
Eddie
just looked it up.
McDowd.
Yes, you're right.
Okay, all right,
See,
yeah.
okay, but the only problem with that was that the Yu Yu Hakusho manga came out in 1990. Uh, Deeds was 1999. Was the first episode.
Nope, nope.
So Mr.
I'm pretty
Deeds
sure it's
took
still
Yu Yu
yeah.
Hakusho's plot and made a shitty show about a dog.
Dude, I used to watch that show and be like, man, I'd love to be a
In
dog. I don't
fact, I
care
think
what
the
got
Yu Yu
me there. I'd do
Hakusho
it for him.
anime came out before that as well.
Okay, all right. I guess Eddie McDowd wasn't the originator, the
No,
progenitor of this
0%.
archetype, but all
And I'm
right.
sure Yu Yu Hakusho is also not the first, but I'm just
All
saying
right.
that damn
Yeah,
bro, I'm so excited about that card.
yeah,
I
yeah. You're
I
explaining that. That's what I thought.
I don't know
But
what I'm
are
gonna
you
run
gonna
it
play
in.
it? Okay, that's what I was gonna say. Are you gonna play it,
I
or is
I
it
will
just a one shot?
probably put it into Aragorn because it's just a human, and that's really the only reason. Like just to force it as like a pet card that I love for as a reference. So I'm probably gonna end up asking you to alter this at some point. We'll see. But
Hell yeah,
yeah,
hell yeah.
I feel like it needs to go in there.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dude,
it's good.
that's the beauty of this. Is like sometimes like you just gotta run a card because you like what it shows. That's what I'm
Yes.
talking about. Which So I talked about the best case. Let me tell you about my favorite case.
Favorite case.
Um, Case of the Crimson Pulse, which is 2 in a red. When this case enters the battlefield, discard a card, then draw 2 cards. Okay, so 3 mana, it enters, discard a card, draw 2. To solve it, have no cards in hand. I all the time in standard. I'm talking about this in standard. All the time in standard, I will dump my hand out. Once you have no cards in hand, it's solved. At the beginning of your upkeep, discard your hand, then draw 2 cards. Dude, I have so many low to the ground Rakdos decks that would love to play. Let's talk Pioneer. I've got Pioneer decks that will use this. I've got Explorer, Historic, whatever it is. I love this. I love the fact that right off the bat, it's going to let me draw cards. And then once I inevitably have no cards in hand because my curve tops off at 3 or 4, I can just start drawing 2 cards without taking any damage. It's not like draw 2 cards, but take 1 damage for that second one or anything. It's just suddenly I have to discard my hand, but I don't want my hand anyway. I'll cast my instance right there and then every turn I get my second card. And let's say one of those cards you draw is another case. You cast that second case. You discard the other card that was a land, and you draw 2 more cards, and now you keep on moving. And now that second case gets solved. And now because you have no cards in hands, and now you have 2 cases where you're drawing now 3 cards. So oh no, just your card, your heart. Oh, ooh, interesting. You have 2 of them out. You discard your hand at the beginning of your upkeep, discard your hand, then draw 2 cards. So beginning of your upkeep, discard your hand, draw 2, cast what you can, and then discard that. And
you better hope you're playing burn so you cast those spells.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I'll try. I like this card. I think it's fun. I'll definitely give it a go in standard for sure. Cases. Let's make them work. What else
I have
you got?
another. Yeah, I was gonna say my this one I cannot wait to play. I'm very excited. It's going into Commodore Guff. Take the bait. 2 red white for an instant. Cast this spell only during an opponent's turn and only during combat. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to you and planeswalkers you control. Untap all attacking creatures and goad them. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. What a fantastic card.
Woof. Yeah.
Yes. Very excited. Very excited to have somebody full swing on me for an Alpha Strike. Cast this. And then send all of those creatures at somebody else.
That's a good one. I did not see this card during my my checkers.
So a lot of these cards are actually coming from the Blame Game Precon, which you mentioned is the only one you would get, and I think that if I got any, it would be that one first. But I would also take it apart. I don't actually like the commander itself. I just like a lot of the pieces inside of it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The mechanics or the mechanisms inside.
Exactly. Rather than the whole thing altogether. So love this card. I love gotcha kind of cards. It reminds me of Ink Shield and Deflecting Palm and just I like any haha, not today cards.
Yeah.
I love me some Teferi's Protection.
Yeah. As I always express it as is slapping that victory spoon out of someone's hand.
Yeah.
Just as they're going, oh, here we go, I'm swinging out to you. It's like Ink Shield,
Yeah.
I love that
good
stuff. So no, that I'm sure that'll definitely change some outcomes on Commander battlefields for sure. All right, let me shout out a Rakdos card here. So it is 1 black and 1 red. Blood Splatter Analysis. It's an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 3 damage to target creature and opponent controls. So at the end of the day, 2 mana, deal 3 damage to a creature. It's like a Braid. It's like, Lightning Strike. 2 mana, deal 3 damage. It's on par. It's okay. But whenever 1 or more creatures die, mill a card and put a bloodstain counter on Blood Splatter Analysis. Then sacrifice it if it has 5 or more bloodstain counters on it. When you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Whenever 1 or more creatures die, mill a card. So it could be your cards, creatures, it could be their creatures, it could be tokens. Whenever a creature dies. So 5 creatures sounds like a lot, but play some standard, play some commander, watch how many creatures die. For I'm talking more standard right now.
Okay.
For 2 mana, you kill a creature. Then shortly after, once some other shit goes down, you get to take any creature card from your graveyard back to your hand. I think this is playable. It's something I'm definitely going to try. It's not flashy. It's nothing crazy. It's just consistency. For 2 mana, removal, and then recursion. I mean, that's the only things you can ask for in a Rakdos deck specifically is to remove and then recur. So
Yeah, early
I,
you're dropping it, and then late, you're getting back one of like your 4 drop, whatever, like your big beater.
right, by the time 5, you're getting a shield Shieldred back.
Hmm.
It's like, sure, absolutely. Or at very worst, what you get a 2 mana, a 3 mana creature back. But at the end of the day, it keeps you going for something you already used to destroy one of their 2 drops. So I like this card as a removal spell. It doesn't sound special, but I think that 5 counters on it, getting your thing back would be awesome. And there's still proliferate, so you can get stuff back faster, but I don't think you need it. I think Blood Splatter will be good. Oh
Dog
my
sneaking
god, my
in
dog.
every
I don't
time.
even know.
Well,
Yeah.
I can let you know if there's a ghost behind you, so
Thank you.
I
Yeah.
would I
Yeah.
would see it.
Please. That would be it's uh I know, buddy. I know everybody left. My whole family just left. They're all going to basketball. Now my dog needs my attention. I will we'll ignore it. If he doesn't go back, I'll pause this and we'll take care of it. But we'll
Word.
see if he just gets bored of this. I got like 2 or 3 more cards, man. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm coming down to my last like 3. Um,
Okay.
this isn't something I really wanted to get into super heavily, but Niv Mizzet Guild Pact, Wooburg, 6/6, flying hexproof for multicolored. When it deals combat damage to a player, it deals X damage to any target. Target player draws X cards, and you gain X life, where X is the number of different color pairs among permanents you control that are exactly 2 colors. Um, a lot of people were roasting this card online. I'm not saying it's very good, but I think it would be a fun build around to try to make a deck that had like an equal distribution of every guilds throughout it and all the different effects, and like what cards that restriction would make you want to run over like things you would normally run, because you'd essentially want every card in your deck to be, every permanent at least, to be 2 color. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think it
Yeah.
would be
That
a fun build around.
that would be worth the build. That would be a big restriction, but at the same time a fun build experiment and powerful, because if you build it right, I mean, that's pretty good. So
Yeah, you got to
is
stick it
that
and hit with it, but still.
is that something you would do, or is just something you like the idea of,
I
but
like
no
the
thank
idea. I like the idea of, and like, who knows? Maybe in like 2 years, I'm like, oh, let me go back and try that. Maybe I'll put a list together as just like a thought experiment. But there's other things I'm more excited. Like I'd build the octopus rogue before I built that.
you. Right. All right. I have a problem with 5 color decks. I can't do it. I'm spread too thin. I get confused. I and I'm not a good deck builder. So it's like once there's too many colors, I'm just throwing in trash. It's just jank cards, pet cards, and
Well,
trash.
that's the
Yeah,
best part about this though, is that it kind of forces you into like the 2 color pair. So like
that's true. Yeah.
you just want all of your permanents to be 2 colors.
Is that going to be my 5 color deck? Because I
I
built the
mean, maybe.
scarecrows once and I felt so bad blowing up lands. But it's
I
like, what
know.
are you going to do with a scarecrow? You going to not blow up lands?
No, you have
Blow up
to, because
those
the
lands.
scarecrows
Yeah.
themselves aren't great.
Yeah, no, you got to get those lands. So I don't know.
The
We'll
best
see.
scarecrows are changelings. They're not even scarecrows.
I know. I know. Uh, Arch Druid's Charm.
Ooh,
Okay.
nice.
This card is something that we played. It is the green card with kicker, where you can cast it for 2 mana, we've played it in a lot. It's in a lot of the precons now. So it's a 2 mana green instant. It lets you either deal 2 damage or do something, but you can pay kicker and does everything. This card reminded me of it, but you don't get to kick it. So green, 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 instant, choose one, search your library for a creature or land card and reveal it. Put it onto the battlefield tapped if it's a land card, otherwise put it into your hand and shuffle. Awesome. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. Awesome. Exile target artifact or enchantment. Awesome. These are the 3 best things that green does. They're all on 1 card. You need to be paying 3 green mana to do it. But for 3 mana, if you're mono green or heavy green, this is artifact or enchantment removal. This is creature removal as long as you have a creature. But this is also ramp. If turn 3, you just got to go get something, get this card out of here. I think this is a great commander card if you're heavy green. I think this is doing everything you want in green. I think this could be a staple for budget green as long as this doesn't go up in price, which it shouldn't because it's green, green, green. I think Archdruid's Charm is something to do if you're looking for budget green commander decks. So grab them
Uh,
while they're cheap because they won't go up in price.
well, I was gonna say, so the only comparable card really is this is I'm not sure if there's a third in the set, but this is definitely the second in the set of Archmage's Charm, which is blue, 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 um, which was from Modern Horizons actually, and it's choose one, counter target spell, target player draws 2 cards, or gain control of target non-land permanent with converted mana cost 1 or less. Um, so I'm glad to see that they're continuing that cycle of like modal, monocolored like charm cards.
Yeah. No, that's cool. But I like it. All right, what else you got, man? I only got 1 or 2 left, so what do you got?
I've got I really enjoyed the second. I think this is the secondary commander for the Naya deck, or is this not in a deck at all? Not sure. But Descana, the Rage Mother, 2 and Naya for a 5/5 legendary bear. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card for each creature you control with base power and toughness 2/2. Whenever a creature you control with base power and toughness 2/2 attacks, it gets +3/+3 until the end of turn. As somebody that built Ayula and I enjoyed it, but like being stuck in mono green and kind of being confined to bears was not the easiest build around. I just love the fact that they're like, hey, now you can play a bear deck with like the quote unquote proverbial bears that are just like what we call all 2/2s.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the artwork on that is gorgeous also. I
Awesome.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, they're killing it with the art.
I
All
feel
right,
like
did
you'd
they
have to make that a hate bear deck. I feel like that'd be a great stacksy kind of hate bear deck. You're playing all the crappy 2/2s that stop opponents from doing things, and then to top it off, when you attack with those, shitty 2/2s, now they're 5/5s.
Yeah. I want to make a joke and be like, "Oh, sure, that's something that someone would say where an octopus suddenly you're doing extra turns instead of krakens." That is where you think immediately, but you are correct because I mean, that's an effective way to stop the game and get your tutus to
Yeah, and close
win the
out.
game for you. That's a win con, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, no, 100% you're right and I would love to see that build.
And you draw a card when it enters the battlefield, so you play it late. You stack, 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 stack your hate bears, maybe 4 or 5 hate bears. You drop it. You're drawing 3 to 5 cards. You're attacking with these hate bears. They're all 5/5s. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a really cool fun deck. I might again another thing that I kind of want to build. The set is
Listen,
insane.
I got this dog whining behind me. Let me pause this. Let me take care of him. I'll be right back. We're almost
Okay.
done. And we're back.
We
Dog is
all come
gone.
back.
We're all good. All
Speaking
right.
of dogs, my next card actually, not really, but I love the I love the Bant Dog Commander. Have you seen that?
No, that's not one of the face commanders, right?
No, I want to say it's one of the side commanders.
Let's see.
In the deep
Sophia.
deep Clue Sea. Yeah, Sophia Dogged Detective.
Okay. I I don't see it on my list here. Tell me about it. Hit me with it.
One in Bant for a legendary creature, human detective, 3/4. When it enters the battlefield, you create Tiny, a legendary 2/2 green dog detective creature token. So it's literally Scooby Doo. Um, and then with Trample, so it's a 2/2 green dog detective creature token with Trample. You pay one, sacrifice an artifact token, put a 1/1 counter on each dog you control. Whenever a dog you control deals combat damage to a player, create a food token, then investigate. So you're eating the Scooby snacks, you're making all your dogs stronger, you're investigating, and you have a 2/2 legendary named Tiny.
Yo. All right.
It's Scooby Doo.
That's a
It's incredible.
that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. And I like that it's dog specific because I know that there's been so much cat support. There's an entire precon
Mhm.
cat deck, the secret lair, and then now the newest secret lair was the Ren and Siri, which is like a combo. So I like that this is more of like specifically like okay, just dogs.
Yeah. Yeah, which I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of cats, there's a lot of dogs. I like that they're paired up and everything. But yeah, give that dog some love on its own.
Yeah. Plus the fact that
That
it's
sounds
literally
fun.
Scooby Doo.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Which makes sense. This is the set for it, right?
Yeah,
This is the
just
perfect home.
hell yeah. They
Ugh,
even have meddling youths. They have meddling youths. They have Scooby Doo. All
yeah. Yeah.
right, hit me with your next
Oh.
one.
All right, listen, I'm giving you an underwhelming little guy here. It's the story of my life. Here we go. One black instant. Target creature gains death touch and lifelink until end of turn. Investigate. So, toxin analysis, 1 mana. Target creature gains death touch and lifelink until end of turn. Investigate. As a small aggro deck, there's a lot of times where it's like they have a big creature I got to get through. How do I get through it? You swing, you cast this, it gives it death touch and lifelink. There's other times where you're like, I'm playing against a burn spell, a burn deck. How do I survive this? This is going to give your biggest creature death touch and lifelink on your attack. There's sometimes you're like, I'm out of cards in hand. I don't know what to do. You swing, you give this death touch and lifelink, you gain a little bit of life, you get your investigate, you pay to draw your card. Chances are the next card you draw is going to be a low CMC creature, so you can now cast it that turn too. For 1 mana, Toxin Analysis is my favorite version of giving, because I remember playing Grotesque Hands or something from an old Innistrad set. I remember casting all. There's always these instances to give something Death Touch or Indestructible or Lifelink or whatever. The fact that this is Death Touch and Lifelink, which are the two that you're always looking for the most, and it lets you investigate, and it's 1 mana, not 2 mana at instant speed. Bro, I love Toxin Analysis so much. Um, there will be decks in constructed that will need this, but if not, limited is this is going to be something I'm going to use in draft
Bomb
early.
and
This is
limited.
good and limited.
Good and
Damn it,
limited.
damn it. But like, it's just because you need to kill things or you need to gain some life, but those change game states. 100% death touch can change it. Lifelink can change it. If you have a 6/6 and you give it lifelink, that can change the game. So I think Toxin Analysis is a common for 1 mana that if you're looking for a little bit of zhuzh to something, you give it a Toxin Analysis. And then I got one more card, man. What do you got before I call my last one?
All right, I'll do two in a row. You do one, and then I'll do one, and we'll call it a day.
Sounds good.
My next one is again another card that I'm going to put in Drana. Can't believe it came out right after I built it. Unshakable Tail, 2 and a black for a zombie detective, 3/2. When Unshakable Tail enters the battlefield and at the beginning of your upkeep, you surveil 1. Whenever 1 or more creature cards are put into your graveyard from your library, investigate. And 2, sacrifice a clue, return Unshakable Tail from your graveyard to your hand.
Wow. So you're investigating. You're doing everything you need to do.
And I think the artwork is portraying that the zombie is investigating their own murder, which kind of makes sense with the clue. You sacrifice it and you can return it to your hand. So like there's like nice flavor built into that card as well.
Oh, that's nice. That is
But in
nice.
a deck where I'm self milling and I want to put creatures in my graveyard, I'm gonna make a bunch of clues, and the surveil is great. Free kind of pseudo scry every turn, and then if it happens to die, I have all the clues that I got from milling myself just to bring it back. Plus, incidentally, the card draw from the clues.
Right. 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 All off of one card.
Yeah, so
Like
great card.
synergy with it, but that
Yeah.
card will produce all that. That's nice.
And the other card before we get to our finals is Eye of Duskmantle. I just thought this was a cool design. I love the artwork for it. 5 and 2 black for 3. It's an eye. Like that's a cool creature type. Just eye. Flying lifelink. You may play card lands and cast spells from among cards in your graveyard you've surveilled this turn. If you cast a spell this way, you may pay life equal to its mana value rather than paying its mana cost. 7 mana is very expensive. This is definitely like a splashy kind of like commander card, but I just think it's cool that they're giving like surveil like specific support like that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm gonna ask. Is the 7 mana too much for this to be
Yes.
playable?
Yes.
It's for 7 mana. It's a 3/8 with flying and lifelink. So 8 can block almost anything. You can swing to gain 3 life, which is okay.
Well, even if you block too.
Or block, yeah, or block. So I mean, it's definitely a deterrent from being swung at, and it's got flying. So like, nothing wants to swing at you for the most part. I mean, is 7 mana too much?
It's only playable if you're playing a surveil deck. Because it doesn't have surveil on its own. So you need to
Right.
be playing enough surveil cards to make it worth paying 7 mana for this card that does absolutely nothing unless you're surveilling consistently.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, I'm so enamored by the card that I'm like, oh, I think I could put this in just a generic black. But you're right. It has to be some sort of surveil, or you have to have at least 10 cards that surveil. Otherwise,
I
this
would
is
say
just
even more.
a 7 mana bullshit creature. Okay.
Yeah, do
All right.
nothing
I hear it.
essentially.
I hear it now. I see. Oh, I see Sophia. I see Sophia. Okay.
There she is.
I couldn't
All right.
find it on my list, but yeah,
What's your
adorable.
last and final Markov spoiler card?
Oh, all right. Listen, this is a card that I'm not too sure what to do with it, but I want your opinion. Expedited Inheritance. So it's a red mythic enchantment.
Okay.
Whenever a creature is dealt damage, its controller may exile that many cards from the top of their library. Until the end of their next turn, they may play those cards. So 2 mana, it's a red enchantment. And then this isn't just you, this is for anybody. Whenever a creature is dealt damage, its controller may exile that many cards from the top of their library. Until the end of their next turn, they may play those cards. Is this a good card draw spell? Is this even good? And the fact that it allows everybody to do this, is this only for group hugs?
I feel like you would definitely need to build because with anything that deals with the entire board, like you want to break parity somehow and like make it so that like while yes everyone's getting benefits, you get the most benefit because you were prepared to deal with this effect. Um, how you do that? I mean, there's definitely creatures that deal damage to themselves. Like what is Brash Taunter? I think can tap and deal like 1 damage to itself, or it fights something along those lines. I feel like you would need to like ping your own creatures or build around dealing damage to your own creatures to make it like worth. But it's also like
Yeah.
a fun concept. But yeah, no, you're also making blocking unfavorable for people. Well, I guess no, if you block and your creature takes 8 damage. Actually, it makes chump blocking a lot better because if they're swinging in with big things and you're chump blocking, with a 1/1 or a 2/2, and they're swinging with their 5/5, you're getting 5 cards to play, and they get 2 cards to play.
Yeah.
So you're definitely playing this in like kind of like a low to the ground. Yeah, I could see it. I would like to see it happen. I feel like it's
It's
definitely an interesting like avenue.
right. I've sliced and diced this one a little bit. I don't. Yeah, I can't clearly say whether it would be a help to anybody or a hurt or how it would affect the game, because at the end of the day, the creatures on the board are going to dictate this. So I like this card for the ability in Commander to kind of now suddenly everyone has a different set of rules where depending on what you're blocking, what you're attacking, what you're doing is now going to affect what cards you're available to. Also, there's some cards where it's like there's some decks where I need a card to be in my hand, and if it ends up getting exiled by this fucking enchantment, it's going to ruin my whole game plan.
Yeah.
So like this alone, as much as it's helping a lot of decks, there's a few decks that'll be petrified to block or deal any sort of damage, because if they lose one of their cards, there's no moving on. So I like this. We'll throw it in some Commander decks. We'll see how it affects a board, and we'll let you guys know whether this
Yeah.
is fun or trash.
Playable.
Yeah,
That should
not
be a
playable.
segment on
This
the
isn't helping
podcast.
anybody. It's
Fun
just, is
or
it fun or is
trash?
it trash? Fun or trash? Yes, please let that be our first segment, right?
Episode
That'll be it.
14, fun or trash. All right.
Oh, I
So
like
the
it.
last card, because we're going on kind of long here, but there's so much great
Yep.
stuff to talk about. Also,
Yeah. This is
anybody,
it.
I have seen on the online a lot of people having the same sentiment that you had before things were spoiled about how it's like the set sucks, whatever. I agree that the showcase art is terrible. I don't like the dossier format. I don't mind the magnifying glass. Sometimes it's cool, but the dossier format's kind of trash. Um, but the mechanics of this set and the flavor is fantastic. But this next card is quickly going to be, I'm calling it now, one of my favorite cards of all time. It's probably going to go in every deck that I have that can run it. Um,
Oof.
it is Immortal Obligation, 1 in a white for an instant. Return target creature from an opponent's graveyard to the battlefield under their control with a duty counter on it. For as long as that creature has a duty counter on it, it is goaded, can't attack you or permanent you control, and can't block creatures you control. I love this card.
So you're hiring a creature from another opponent to come out and do your dirty work is kind of what
Yes.
this is, right?
Yes. Any creature from their graveyard, you could bring it back. It's an instant, so you could play politics with it. Hey, you're getting attacked by
Mm.
this giant thing. What if I like rezzed your creature? Would you like that? Let me help you out there, buddy. Um, it
Ooh.
can't attack you even if you're the last opponent, because I know that one of the drawbacks of Goad is that at the end of the game, if it's just you and some other person, Goad essentially means nothing. But this, in addition to being goaded, can't attack
Can't
you or
attack
one
you.
of your planeswalkers. So then it's just
Yeah.
pacifism at that point. It's not an enchantment, so it's not easy to remove. The counter is put right on the creature, so you're only getting rid of it if you kill the creature again or you flicker it somehow, which is not common. It exists, but I wouldn't say it's like a common thing to run into. So that duty counter staying on there, because that counters like that are hard to interact with. And it can't block creatures you control. So when you do go to kill them, they can't even use that thing as a wall. So it's just I love this card so much. Every deck that I have with white in it is probably going to get a copy of this card.
You sold this to me, man. Except for the fact that like I can't get past duty counter. Someone please 3D print a
A
little
poop.
pile of poop. I
Yeah,
mean,
and it's like deal with this shit now.
yeah. There's your duty counter.
Yeah.
Go wild.
So I cannot love this card more. And again, it comes from the blame game pre-con. So many of those cards I love. I've never loved more cards in a deck and just not wanted the deck in my life.
It happens. I get it. No,
Ah,
it's a cool
bring back
card.
their best thing. Now all of a sudden it's going and it has to attack. It
And
has to attack.
you can almost sell that as like a positive for that player. Be like, Mark, listen,
Here,
man. I know you really wanted that dragon. I'll tell
here
you
it
what, you can
is.
have it back. Let me. Do you want it back? I'll give it to you.
Yeah,
Here's your dragon.
exactly. Instant
By the way, it's
speed.
goaded. It can't attack me, and
Yeah, so good. It's so good.
yeah. No, that's fantastic. That is definitely a U card. I like it, man. So we reached the end here. We went over these cards. There's still other good cards. I mean, there's that one. Actually, let me take 10 seconds to just shout out because I kept on saying, "Oh, there's so many one drops that I love. There's so many one drops that I love." There is that scapegoat card, which I can't find it on this thing now. It is a one red scapegoat with haste, and it comes in suspected. And then whenever another creature comes in, you could give that creature suspected. So it's
Yeah,
one
frantic
red.
scapegoat.
Thank you. Yes, one red haste 1/1. It comes in suspected, so it has menace, which is awesome. A 1/1 haste with menace.
Which
Ooh,
means if you
boy.
play a turn 1, you're definitely hitting for 1 because menace.
Oh yeah. But then if another creature enters, you can give that creature suspected instead of this scapegoat. So let's say you play a 3/1, you want that to be suspected because now it's got menace. And now your 1/1 doesn't, but this does. So I like it as a one drop for some sort of aggressive deck where you want to be getting things in with menace and you're going to use some sort of suspected format. So I like that card. I just wanted to shout that out. That scapegoat. The artwork is wild. It's going to be playable. It's cool. But as we reach the end of this, we are going to both be playing Commander this weekend, but separately.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't like it.
Yeah, I know. So I just want to ask you. I'm going to be playing with Keldon, Carolyn, and Nick. We're going to be playing all different power levels. I wish I had Clark. I'm not going to be able to, so I'm going to be playing what I already have. But I'm excited. Is there anything special you're looking to play during your Commander set? I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about it next week, but is there anything you're looking forward to?
See, the only thing is that, and it's not a problem, but one of our players is just kind of getting back into the game. So he's probably going to be playing precons mostly. So that kind of
Yeah.
limits me in terms of like what I'm willing to play. I'm definitely going to get more reps in of that Doctor Who precon that I had. Zombies is going to get taken out for a drive. Um, but one thing is that like this player is making me want to. I wish that I had drawn it together as well because I feel like that would be appropriate power level just from the budget alone to play. So I definitely want to 2024. I definitely want to start building more like lower powered fun kind of things.
Yeah.
Um, Now if we could just kind of convince Mark to do that too, then
Yeah.
we'll all be good.
Yeah.
Because even Mark's
I
precons, dude, the Tyranid precon is like a beater out of the box.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think a part of it too is his actual play style. Like when he's looking at his hand, he's looking to see how to deal as much damage as possible. He's not looking to draw cards or set up resources. He wants to pummel our faces.
Timmy's. He's just
Um,
trying to Timmy.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, we could give him any deck. At the end of the day, he's going to be turning it sideways.
Just don't
But
give him a blue deck.
yeah, too many cards in hands, and
Yeah,
he gets
a
angry.
little scary.
The fuck is this? Fuck outta here. No, but you're right. But this is good because listen, we've flexed. We've gone to that CEDH edge. We've come back down. We've gone up. We've played a lot of different forms of Magic, and honestly, besides the fact that when we're playing lower power, the games go longer, which causes us to play less games. I do prefer the lower powered games. I do like to get more games in than not. But at the end of the day, I like the interactions of the politics and everything when because if we're playing such streamlined cards and such powerful decks, you can't politic yourself out of anything because at the end of the day, you're going to win. But if you're just changing states and affecting certain things but not winning, you can do a lot more politics. So a casual game allows for more politics because when you say, hey, if I do this, I'm winning the game, no one's going to politic with you. No one's going to agree with you. No one's going to make deals. You're over. So I like that we're kind of going on this downtrend to get weird with it. Let's do a year of weird, like, I mean,
The year of weird.
yeah, let's put away some of our cyclonic rifts. Let's see what we can do. And I mean, I'm not saying build weak decks, but let's just get weird with it. And I mean,
Yeah.
listen, if you end up swarming people with, fungus tokens and dogs end up running everywhere, and I'm looking forward to this. I'm glad that we have some newer players coming into here because that means Magic is growing and people who were not into Magic are looking at it as an avenue of what they want to do for gaming. There's so many games. So the fact that you want to get into Magic means that Magic is doing something right. So let's facilitate it. Let's build down a little bit. Let's give them decks that they're able to, tennis back and forth with. And at the end of the day, we're all there just to get weird.
Yeah.
Get weird. So,
well,
no. Because that'll be my Saturday too. Keldon and Carolyn and Nick are not power builders. They're building things that they want to play, and I'm showing up here not to play combos, not to do anything, but just to get as many weird things cast as possible, and then talk about it. That's it. So we should have some good Magic. It's a shame we're not going to be together on it, experiencing it together. I personally think Magic is better when you're sitting there at the table. So, we'll have a good weekend, and then let's get back to it and talk about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I think we reached the bottom of the glass. We are God, we're almost 2 hours. We're an hour 40.
Definitely.
Bro, my God.
It's too much
takes a long time to murder.
It. Yeah.
All right, man. Listen, you have a good one. Everybody out there, we'll see you next week to talk about pre-release. Is pre-release out yet? No, right?
The second is pre-release.
Right. Well, you'll hear us hyping about it and talking about our Commander decks. Everybody have a wonderful one. Joel, God bless. Take it easy, man.
BC.